Welcome to the Growth Hacking Culture podcast, where we are talking about change and the people who make it happen. Today, we are focusing on something really important, the role of women that women play in guiding companies through big shifts, big changes. It feels like businesses are constantly changing these days, doesn't it? From new technology to different ways of working, there is always something new on the horizon, but leading people through these transitions is incredibly challenging. And when we look at who is typically in charge of these efforts, the picture is pretty clear. While we are making some kind of progress, let's be honest, the numbers on female leadership tell a story. Globally, women hold just over a third of senior management positions. In 2024, there was a report that pointed out that at this slow pace, we won't see an equal number of men and women in top roles until 2053. I wonder if I'm going to be still alive back then. Um, Even more surprising, the number of female CEOs in mid-sized companies actually is dropping significantly last year. This suggests we are missing out on a huge pool of talent when it comes to leading change. So, what happens when women do lead these big projects? Well, research suggests that they bring a really effective approach to the table. Studies consistently show that women are more likely to use a transformational leadership style, and we're going to discuss more about this with our guest. Um, Plus, leadership traits that are often labeled as feminine, like empathy, collaboration, and good communication, are now being seen as crucial skills for navigating any big change. Another report, this time by my friends of McKinsey, I call it friends, but it's more about being sarcastic. They found that companies with more women in leadership roles tend to have a healthier and more positive work culture, which is the perfect foundation for a smooth transformation. This brings me to our guest today, Camilla Calberg. With her incredible experience leading major changes and projects in different industries, Camilla is here to share what is really going on behind the scenes. And we are not going to shy away from the tough questions. Are women left out of change management roles specifically? And what unique biases or obstacles do women face when they are the ones leading the change? Camilla, a very warm welcome to the Growth Hacking Culture podcast. Lovely to have you.
Thank you, Even. I am beyond excited to be here, and thanks for having me.
Camila, let's go to the topic of change management. From
Yeah.
your perspective, what are the most significant challenges in any change management initiative, regardless of who is leading it?
I love that question. And for those who don't know me, not that I'm going to give the story of my whole CV, but I've been leading change for more than 20 years. So I've grown in this field. What I now see as being maybe the biggest obstacle and challenge we have is that most people, they jump to the how.
Mhm.
How are we going to do it, right? We focus because we've been given a task, a restructure, and then immediately we say, okay, how are we going to do it? Even my body is responding now. But here's where we fall short. Very few people take the time to really understand the why and the what,
Hmm.
which means that and that's when I was in the beginning, before I turned into being a coach and a success mentor, I was running my own consultancy business, helping other companies designing and implementing big change programs. And I trained from IBM. I was so passionate about benefits realization. It's about the how, not the how, but the why, the business case, the brief. But it was so difficult to actually get people to focus on the numbers because the brief, the change brief, was not clear enough. So
Hmm.
we got somewhere. The question is just, and I always remind my clients, you get somewhere. The question is just where, which is also why many projects fail.
Hmm. But this story that jumping to to the how very quickly. I have observed it too. In fact, it is almost like we are pushed to get results, milestones, regardless of the direction that we are taking. Now, coming back to the point of women and men, is it driven by the fact that men are more either decisive, not in a cool way, but and that they're taking actions without thinking about the purpose that you have mentioned or the why that you have mentioned? Do you believe that there is a bias from that side?
I don't believe anymore because I've gone so deep in the subconscious mind and how we think and feel and how we do. So I now have a different perspective on this. It's not bias, but I think that's many companies are driven by metrics.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why, I don't know about you, but in most of my career, I've been reporting to a sex who created this amazing change program. And then once they implemented it, when it was launched, then we're off to something else. So it was a check in the box. So for me, a lot of why we have so many programs that go wrong is that because we're driven by metrics, can also be, I don't know whether men are more decisive, but it really gets to, I think, the challenge is here that we're driven by the how and less by why we do it and what we do it. And maybe some men are even better at asking the why and the what
Mm.
than the women.
You made me think that maybe it's not that we are driven by metrics, but the wrong metrics. Maybe there is the metrics should be a little bit more about the sustainability of the actions that we are doing, the legacy that we are going to leave, and that shit nobody cares.
And whether it's metrics, but it's a metrics, is it metrics on the how? Just deliver on this time? Or is it a bigger purpose? My body's so responding because I'm so passionate about this. Is that are we coming from ego to deliver something? Or are we coming from our soul's calling and this the bigger why we do it? Because we want to serve our customers, we want to serve the create an impact in this world, but we forget in all this, yeah, I'm smiling by you this year, but we're forgetting in all this, the work that we do, that what is it, why is it that we do what we do? They thought about it when they do the top 10 strategic projects for the year, or top 20 or 30, but when it's then cascaded down to the project teams, that brief is very vague. And then
Mm,
that team is operating on something that is vague, but they don't have the guts to go back and say, what is it that we truly, truly want?
mm. Do
Does
you?
that?
Yeah, I get it completely. Uh, Now it comes to my mind this question: do you see that there is an influence on from the leadership style, either if we consider it a little bit more masculine or feminine, that can uh, exacerbate or make it better these common challenges that we have during the change? Is there something that makes it worse or better? Uh, if
I love
it,
that. So many of my clients are actually in C-suite. And what I see as being can sabotage success is rooted back in childhood and how we perceive ourselves and how we own our worth and how powerful we are from a positive perspective. So do we actually dare to ask questions? Do you actually, if I was reporting to you as a CEO even, do you actually think this is what we truly need, or could there be something else? But most often, I call it the big egos. We have from society had this expect and respect for other people. And sometimes that respect sabotage our success, because if I said you were a CEO giving me the assignment, I would think subconsciously that you know better than me, even though I'm a C-suite. So I don't challenge you as much. And I hear it also from CEOs with board members. They don't challenge. Oh, my body's so responding. This is deep, and I don't. But that is that's why it's so important to slow down and say, do I really think that this assignment or the purpose or the focus is really will get us where we want to be? And then pause and then ask a bit of question. So I don't think it's masculine or feminine. It's really about taking power back.
Hmm. But there is this, I remember seeing some numbers once that men tend to be a little bit more political than women. And when you mention about this approach about saying, talking truth, being candid when you give feedback, regardless of your level in the hierarchy, I would say that sometimes it's very masculine to play along. So I would not dare to contradict the CEO. Uh, have you observed this type of behaviors in organizations where there is, because of politics, we are going to destroy the change because of we don't dare to say what we think.
I've seen it and observed it and been there myself. But as I mentioned before, just before going on air, I have done so many years on inner work, and I've been working with or learning directly from top tier entrepreneurs. And now even for our conversation, I had the value chart over here. And I think it comes down to I'm lost track of the question because I was so attacked. Just give me the question again.
So this playing politics in order to please the senior person, the CEO, or whatsoever is, for me, what I have observed is that is very masculine, a masculine trait, while women tend to be a little bit less caring about this politics, which is
And what
positive.
I've seen, but whether it's, I think a lot of our behaviors come down to how we were, how our parents were, and how we were role model. Many women are playing small in C-suite, and the men are more masculine. They own the word more,
Mm,
but they oftentimes do not slow down enough to say, do we truly believe that this project will help us get to where we want to be?
mm,
So I think it's that of being, because it's not about challenging. I say it's about challenging with love. What is it that we want? And most people haven't learned in school to challenge with love. And I say to my clients, and I learned it myself, I have played small to people with big egos because they carry themselves with a weight that I know more than you. So even I ended up being a doer. And that really drains you and gets you more to in the doing mode, and you beat yourself up. But
mm,
when you learn to see yourself as being the facilitator of change and not the change, the whole world shifts, the whole room shifts because you dare to ask questions nobody else dares to ask.
mm. Again, I think this is a point where women are better than men is this humbleness. This sometimes we confuse it with self-doubt, but this humbleness to say, I don't know every single thing. And I associate it with this type of feminine traits. Now, talking about feminine traits, so there is masculine traits, feminine traits. There are a lot of people who confuse it with the gender of people. Has nothing to do, by the way. And do you have you observed if certain feminine traits contribute more to a good, healthy change, sustainable, that people want to have?
Mm. So before I answer that, when you say feminine traits, do you talk about abundance, gratitude, being in flow? Is that your relationship with feminine traits?
Um, Kind of that there is an integration of what you have mentioned, but I'm thinking about these natural and sometimes learnable skills like empathy, collaboration, intuition, communications. Certain things we can think that it is you have it are innate in some people because of our society or whatever, this nurturing. Um, but certainly are learnable skills. So it embeds what you have mentioned, but I'm talking about the generic, more human, this processing of different things at the same time, empathizing in an easier way than men. So do you feel that this could help to do better changes in organizations?
Oh, for sure. That of listening to your intuition, maybe you know that, but the top one very successful people, they listen to their intuition before they make decisions, and they meditate. And right now I'm being learned directly under the group from Mind Valley CEO Vision Lakani. We are meditating, we are tapping into the vision. That's what the number 1% people do. So that of listening to our intuition is so strong. But and then also come with empathy. And many people have a misalignment with what is empathy and sympathy. We don't want to come lead with sympathy. We want to lead with empathy. It's about holding space for the emotions, but I am not your emotions, and don't let emotions run the show. But what I see as pattern and where I've been myself is that in the rush of delivering, when we are in room with people with bigger egos, and they come from fear, because if they didn't come from fear, there would be abundance and in flow. Then we oftentimes cut the connection to our intuition. Intuition only comes and surfaces when you dare to slow down and really question what is going on in this room, or right now I'm feeling that you are aggressive. What is going on? So, but we dare not to listen to our intuition because we've been told, and maybe we're not been told, we've been not been taught that intuition is so important. But when we allow us, if I believe we can all, it's a skill we can all cultivate. It just takes time to understand that actually when you know within what you want, then dare to own that truth and ask it with love or share it with love.
You have mentioned mind value, which is a full other conversation regarding my personal beliefs about what mind value does. But what is interesting is that in the area of change management, a lot of senior people responsible for the change, they tend to rush about how to do it. So for instance, they will go, I'm going to get certified ProSci, I'm going to apply this method from McKinsey or whatsoever. But the fact that you have mentioned Van Valley tells me, is it the right way? So instead of working on the approach, the how, shouldn't be working on ourselves, on the meta skills that are going to be necessary to drive the change correctly, like being more empathetic, being more mindful about people, giving the space for so that everybody can contribute to the change. Shouldn't we erase all this, learn how to do change management and instead manage yourself so that you can manage the change in others? What do you think about
Just like, wait, that's the way forward. That is the way forward. And I'm just looking, I have a wall with all my keynotes here. But here's where we go wrong. Also in is in C-suite, is that we don't get more successful with just what do we say in proper English, but just learning a new skill. Because one thing is studying that. Another thing is, as a mentor thing, it says that you know nothing. It's just theory. Now you get to go out and do it. What we really need, and here's a trend that is coming up. I said like 2053, are we more women? I think that's the trend, and the parallel trend is that where we are, if we are 40 plus or 50 plus in our career, like in years, and then we're about 20 years or more in our career, it's nothing to do with IQ anymore. It's emotional intelligence. And so the way to do it is to understand, how do I lead? how do I take the room? Because you know everything, right? So it's not about another certificate. It's really about learning to lead yourself. And most people have never learned to lead themselves because there's no focus on leading ourselves. I had a conversation with a professor from a London university some years ago because I'm so passionate about emotional intelligence, self-development and personal development. And I said, why don't you have any program about personal emotional intelligence and self-learning and self-healing?
Mm.
And he said, there is no demand, so we don't offer it, Camilla, but it's so important. That's why I got even more because it is important. Let us not forget. It is so important to control our emotions. You cannot get another job or think you can secure a promotion just by enrolling and being trained in another subject because you do not know what this is all about. It takes years. Tap into what you're truly good at and listen to like roll up all your CV achievements and own what you're. Here's what is. And maybe I hope that your listeners can follow this because it's so deep and it's so important. Is that own what you're truly good at. Own what you're truly good at because that is your unique power. You do not have any competitors. You do not have any competitors. So own your message so well. Own your changes, your what you're really good at so well. So people want you on their teams because you have no competitors.
Indeed. You mentioned about emotional intelligence and that there is no demand. I have a personal theory about that. It is that, in fact, there is no demand because people misunderstand what is emotional intelligence. But it might be like, yeah, it's about managing if I'm angry or stressed. Bullshit. Bullshit. We don't understand that behind this emotional intelligence of feeling the emotions that you have is about giving yourself the space to take very rational decisions that are brought by really thinking about it and not the I don't know the dirty glasses that emotions can create when we take decisions. So decision making is improved the way of reading other people so that you can influence better. You can take decisions that make sense. It's about having this choice or this little time that where you understand what emotions you have and if it is rational enough to make a choice. It's about giving yourself the choice. And this story is not well uh, broadly understood in people. That's why they feel like I know how to manage my emotions, but it's not about managing your emotions. It's about having impact. What the hell?
And yeah, and I say it's about understanding to be intelligent with your emotions.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's really about understanding because, and I love that you honed in on choice. We all have a choice what to believe to be true. We all have a choice not to make decision based on emotions,
Mm.
but being bigger than our emotions. And we all have a choice to pause and say, what is it that we want to create? And what we are on that path we're on right now, is that the best we're doing? Or should we just cut and remove 10% or 20, 30% of this task and focus on these free tasks that generate the most energy, not energy, generate the most value for the company? But that's not how the world is operating right now.
Mm. Eh, Absolutely. Um, in the area of change management, the, there is some research suggesting that women are more likely to adopt a transformational leadership style. Um, and the word transformational looks a little bit too fluff, like subjective and all the stuff. What is your take on that? What is really transformational and what it would be like at the typical, more masculine way of doing, of living?
I love that. And you and the listener may be surprised what I'm sharing, but I'm sharing because I've learned directly under some very successful entrepreneurs over the last couple of years. And I'm thinking right now about of one of my mentors called Miriam Golden, and my clients they know because I'm sharing his way of building business and building wealth, and that changed everything about transactional and transformational. I thought I did transformational, but let me very shortly take you through the four levels of wealth, and has nothing to do with where you are in C-suite or not, because most people fall into the level one where we are transactional oriented. We go to work and we trade in our time for money and we tick the box, tick the box. That is truly transformational work. The next step is unifying. We are orchestrating a project. Still, a lot of my clients, and we fall back into transactional because we're delivering. Then it's about communication level four, where we focus on why. But the way, when we talk about four levels of wealth, and not four levels of value, where value comes in, is about asking level four, transformational, being so attached to what is that you truly need, not what you want. But most people cannot articulate what they need. And that's where true transformation shows up, because then we are not going anywhere. We are going to what you really, really want. But most people get to be trained in asking those bold questions. I had a conversation with a client of mine yesterday, and she's running for her next CEO job. I said, I'm doing everything you've been training me to ask these bold questions, but we're not taught. So I don't think it's men or women, but it's really about, are we in this game because our ego, or are we in this game to set other people up for success? And when we go in to set you up for success, has nothing to do with me. It's all about asking the right questions so I can help you become more successful. And that's, in my world, being a transformational leader.
Absolutely. Um, Tell me, I'm super interested about. We started this discussion having a big hypothesis or an assumption saying that there might be an underrepresentation of women in change, because that comes from the fact that senior leadership roles are a little bit uh, full of men. In change management, do we have that? And my second question is, everybody believes that Nordic countries are the best in terms of representation of women. Is that true, or is a nice legend going around?
Mm. So I don't know. I can't say whether it's true how many women in Nordics we have in change management. But yes, I've been in change management for most of my career, and that's a lot of women. What I have observed, that actually, and here it may surprise you, but this is what I've observed, that oftentimes men are better at leading a change because they are less attached to the situation, where women are more attached. And when you're attached to something, you cannot lead, because then you're leading with your emotions.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very, very different, very interesting dynamics that I have observed in my career.
Mm-hmm. Um, I want to highlight this question. So, are the Nordic countries in general, not in change, in leadership positions, have a good representation of women? Are they doing it right, and we should all learn from them?
Um, that's a good question. And can I really answer that? Because I have most of my career in Europe.
Uh-huh.
So, um, to be honest, I can't say. If I say yes, I have no data to back it on. But I think we're good at go do a good job. But I still, what shows up in my mind is because I also reported to women in change who came from a level of transactional and protecting themselves and protecting their career and coming from a place of ego and then also being the big egos in the room. I really think that it comes down to the different person, the different individuals
Uh,
in, yeah. I don't think I wish I could say that, but I don't think I could put the Nordics on an amazing pedestal here.
well, from the outside perspective, I mean, the numbers are there in the Nordic in terms of representation, but there is not yet parity. That's something that I was impressed to see with some numbers, uh, and but the difference of representation is so small that now, and you have highlighted it, is the problem is not about women or men, it's about ego or no ego. So the standard human fight, which is still okay, right?
Mm.
We're human, so we need to live with our small devils inside of our heads and be idiots when when it happens.
But I think this is interesting. We also had a conversation shortly just before going on air, and that is how do we get more women in top leadership positions? And I think here's what I've seen. I'm curious about what you've seen, but a lot of women or and men are in top leadership positions. But even what I've seen is that they traded in their life for money. But
Mhm.
that is not what is the other world that is happening. That's where my clients are coming in to unleash the full potential because they are so eager to unleash the full potential, but they're also eager to expand their life.
Mhm.
So it comes by being more empathetic, more intuitive, but also knowing what are the top three tasks that you want to do rather than top 10 tasks. And then that's where leadership comes in. And then you get more people actually on your board because they know how to create wealth. They know how to create a culture where everyone thrives, not just trading in hours for money.
Mm. But I think we are getting better in some countries, not in every country. We're getting better, progressing from this definition of productivity that is related to the time spent in a chair, basically. And we are getting to understand that productivity has nothing to do with time spent, but more about outcomes. And that will be it's a good choice to have. The issue that I mean, at least some people will decide if I want to work 18 hours, go and do it. An organization will not care. But if I want to make today 6 hours because I need to spend to bring my kid to football, uh, do it. Uh, that there is a choice. I see a little bit more of the trend of a choice. In certain countries, we don't want to accept correctly this freedom, autonomy that people may have in order to come or not come to the office. There is clear data that I was just reading like 2 days ago from the UK experiment about working remotely, having a lot of flexibility that is quite positive, but there is still a lot of people with strong heads who believe that this is bullshit. Then we have the phenomena that is called Trump that has affected your country because they want to take part of your country also. That was funny and a little bit sad at the same time. So this affects a little bit the perception of how much we can progress. We were progressing, but this Trump effect, for instance, is going to have a lot of uh, toxic influence in how much we are advancing in terms of the autonomy that people should have in the workplace. We're getting better. Anyways.
That's interesting. And we could go deep on that. I think I just want to put my 2 cents in here in terms of choice. We have a choice what we want to believe to be true.
Mhm.
And we can choose if we want to truly generate more impact, then we get, probably you know that, but the manifestation and the beat you have, then we get to be a different version. And we can still create amazing companies and create amazing impact when choosing to focus on the 10x mindset versus the 2x mindset. If we truly go in and focus on the three things that generate the most income, then we can still create amazing results, not
Absolutely.
having to work harder. But this is what I see. Most people, even though we talk about it, people do not embody it. And that's something very different from embodiment to talk about it, because that's also when you have to battle or dance with your upper limit fears, your identity. How am I seen? Am I promoted? How am I perceived?
Hmm. In the long experience that you have got in change management, what
Mm.
would you say they are the unique biases or obstacles that women have when leading change initiatives? Have you seen something that has said, what the hell?
Yeah, so I've been in change management for most of my career by leading right sizing projects. And I think that one of the biggest challenges, actually, we mentioned that, just touched on it earlier in this conversation, is that we oftentimes lead with heart, which is good, but we are also attached to the process and what we have to do. So when we are about to right sizing a team, organization, or department, if you are too attached to what is going to happen with the employees that have to find another job, you're actually sabotaging your success. And I see that again and again and again. So we get to really focus on the bigger why, being leading with empathy, but not sympathy.
Mhm.
And then another trap that I've seen, and we talked about it as well, but that is that of just executing on a brief that is weak.
Mm.
We want to really slow down because nobody really understands those briefs, even when they come. We just guess, right? And you get a project and a solution that doesn't serve the receiving organization. And then you get all the change requests and and you're not successful. That's coming back to being intuitive, serving rather than, I say, be the facilitator of change and not the change. And I'm the first one to put my hand in air and said, I, for most of my career, saw myself as the change. But I'm not the change. I'm the facilitator. And my most important task is to ask the right questions so that you can become successful. So that is some of the traps that we are now working on in my business to help clients succeed. Yeah.
I like this perspective of a facilitator because that means that is also the bridge between what the management wants to do and the people who needs to contribute and be engaged. And sometimes this is the part where we fail, and sometimes this is the part where big consultings, thinking again about my McKinsey, they are my best
Yeah.
thought. They have beautiful slides with graphics and so on, but nobody gets them. Nobody knows how to do it. What the hell?
And that's why on my 4 steps to value is that they're on level 3, but they're not truly transformational because they don't really uncover the true need. Most people, and I've done it so many times even, you know, most people can articulate what they want, but it's not what they need.
Hmm.
And that's where us as a facilitator of change comes in. Dare to ask. I'm training my clients to ask bold questions, and it's uncomfortable. It's scary to ask. And why are you reacting right now? Why are you? But that's why you build reports, and that's why we become better than McKinsey.
That is true. Camilla, so what is the best way to connect with you, to ask you questions about having true transformational change, helping leadership CEOs to drive the change that they envision? How can they reach you out?
Oh, I love that question. Thank you. So I'm available on LinkedIn, so they can find me on LinkedIn, Camilla Calberg, and they can send me an email. Go on calbergcoaching.com and to find book a call if you want to be curious, if you're curious about how to elevate and how to, maybe you already know from the conversation we have, even you and me today, or you have some other limit blocks. Maybe you are even reporting to a big ego and you don't know how to go about it. And so go book a time. Be happy to support you in a 20 minutes free conversation. And also building my YouTube channel. So also Camilla Calberg, where there's free training as well. So that's where you can find me.
I will put all these links below this episode. Camilla, it was beautiful to have you with me today. You made me think about back in the days of my time in Denmark with these crazy Danes. They're crazy. Parties in Denmark are something. I still remember. I was young, so I was very stupid back then. Thank you very much, Camilla. It was wonderful to have.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.